You put the dress on, it's another thing. It brings on a new life.
Sure.
She walks out of the room in the dress.
Yes.
Before the event, was the first time you saw her in the dress?
Yes.
What'd you think?
Why do we need to leave?
Our objection to a man of the cloth presenting his wife in public looking like a $2. At least two.
Whispers have already spread like wildfire. Pastor Jamal Bryant and his wife, Dr. Carrie Bryant, are now facing a storm of backlash they never expected. What was meant to be an elegant charity gala has erupted into a full-blown church scandal almost overnight. It all started with one striking dress that ignited outrage across religious circles. Now, a question hangs in the air, one that feels almost too bold to ask. Could this be the moment Pastor Jamal's carefully built influence as a celebrity pastor begins to crack?
Now, I didn't say she was. I'm not talking about her. My statement is not about her. My statement is about him. I said he presented his wife, and he said he bought the dress.
What was supposed to be a seamless, feel-good evening filled with glamour and goodwill quickly spiraled into chaos, louder, harsher, and far more uncomfortable than anyone expected. The backlash didn't begin with gossip blogs or flashy headlines. It erupted from within the walls of the church itself. Fellow pastors, members of other congregations, and longtime believers who have watched Jamal Bryant for years began quietly, but sharply questioning just how often the rules bend whenever his name is involved.
And anybody who looks at my wife will think I'm a billionaire.
However, the whispers didn't stay hidden in pews or private group chats. They exploded, spilling across every timeline, every comment thread, every conversation, turning a single evening into a public reckoning no one could escape.
I just don't know where the illusion of nudity fits in with being a first lady.
This whole storm ignited on December 20th, 2025, at the UNCF Atlanta Mayor's Masked Ball. A black-tie spectacle where status stripped from every corner, and everyone who mattered made sure to be seen. This was no casual night out. Polished, exclusive, and packed with power from wall to wall. Politicians exchanged firm handshakes, business titans floated through the room, celebrities glided from table to table, each ensemble meticulously chosen. The mission was noble, raising serious funds for historically black colleges and universities. On paper, the night was flawless. By the time the final speeches ended and the doors closed, an impressive $4 million had been secured. Inside, every detail shimmered, cameras never stopped flashing, applause rolled after each announcement, smiles were perfect, glasses remained full. And every guest looked intentionally expensive in their formal attire. It was the kind of evening destined for highlight reels and legacy snapshots. But all it took was one single moment to flip the script. Pastor Jamal Bryant and Dr. Carrie Bryant stepped into the spotlight. As the lights hit the floor and photos spread online, attention subtly but surely shifted from the speeches, the donations, and the cause itself, straight to Dr. Carrie Bryant's dress. What had been a triumphant, feel-good night began to sour with each circulating image. Suddenly, the gala was no longer defined by millions raised. It was being dissected for what one pastor's wife chose to wear, and what that choice signaled to believers and critics alike, all watching Jamal Bryant with hawk-eyed scrutiny. If you want to trace the origin of the firestorm, here it is. Dr. Carrie appeared in a black mermaid gown designed to make a statement. The dress featured a flesh-toned illusion bodice that seemed to melt seamlessly into her skin, creating a barely there effect designed to arrest attention. It hugged every curve, sculpted her figure flawlessly, and delivered a high-glam, dramatic silhouette that could stop a conversation mid-sentence. And let's be honest, Dr. Carrie Bryant looked breathtaking. That part isn't up for debate. Now, if this had been a celebrity on a red carpet, no one would have batted an eye. A reality star, influencer, or singer posing for the cameras. Bold fashion would have been celebrated, the headlines would have shifted, and within hours, everyone would have moved on. End of story. But context changed everything. This wasn't just a glamorous woman at a gala. This was the first lady of a megachurch, a pastor's wife, a minister herself. The moment that title became attached to the image, the tone shifted instantly. Expectations tightened, standards hardened, and a simple fashion moment erupted into a full-blown moral debate. Conversations stopped at "she looks stunning" and pivoted sharply to "should a pastor's wife wear that?" For many churchgoers, this wasn't about fabric or style at all. It was about image, symbolism, and whether the sacred line between pulpit and celebrity culture had been crossed for countless believers. Pastors and their spouses don't clock out of spiritual responsibility when they leave church grounds. The belief is simple but deeply rooted. We are the church wherever we go. That means presentation matters. What leaders wear matters. How they show up matters. And whether anyone likes it or not, what they normalize in public carries weight. Supporters rushed in to defend her almost immediately. It wasn't a church service. She wasn't preaching. Yet for many, that defense fell flat. This wasn't modesty policing or body shaming, it was about leadership standards. Certain positions carry unspoken expectations, and for many observers, those boundaries were being ignored yet again, treated as optional rather than foundational. Then Pastor Jamal Bryant took the pulpit. And that's when the situation truly detonated. Instead of easing tensions around his wife's dress, he turned the fire up. From the pulpit, he openly mocked his critics, labeling them jealous, petty, small-minded, and ignorant.
But insecure, jealous, petty, small-minded people got in their feelings and set up a false barometer of holiness.
He hinted that the real reason people were offended was simple: they'd never been anywhere. Then he escalated, unapologetic and bold, declaring that he had personally bought the dress himself and daring anyone with a problem to confront him directly.
The dress was flesh color, but because you ain't never been nowhere and ain't never been exposed enough.
And just like that, the dress stopped being the story. The real scandal became the way he responded. What shook people wasn't that Pastor Jamal Bryant defended his wife. That was almost expected. No, the shock came from how he did it. He wasn't gentle, measured, or thoughtful about the concerns of fellow believers. He didn't pause to consider why other pastors, church leaders, or congregants might feel uneasy. He didn't explain, negotiate, or meet anyone halfway. Instead, he dismissed them completely, as if their voices were nothing more than background noise to be ignored. But make no mistake, there was one thing he did care about: the money. Time and again, Jamal circled back to the $4 million raised at the gala, using it like a shield, a statement, and a weapon all at once.
Because the other day, the internet went crazy about a dress my wife had on. Now, they didn't say anything about the $4 million that was raised for the United Negro College Fund.
In his eyes, the sheer success of the fundraiser overshadowed every complaint, every raised eyebrow, every whispered concern about propriety or spiritual example. If the money was moving, the criticism didn't matter.
They never said anything about this was the largest fundraiser for for HBCUs in the country.
Pastor Jamal Bryant's eyes. The undeniable success of the fundraiser eclipsed every complaint, every skeptical glance, every hushed murmur about propriety or spiritual example. As long as the money kept flowing, the criticism might as well have been invisible.
Nowhere, and they never been exposed to nothing.
And for everyone watching, it was no longer just about the dress. It became a statement about priorities, about values. The unspoken message hit like a gut punch. These people are beneath me. There was no subtlety. By labeling his critics as clueless and never been nowhere, Jamal Bryant drew a sharp, almost confrontational line between himself and the very worshippers who had built his platform. The same people whose tithes fueled his wealth, whose loyalty had moved his church into a wealthier neighborhood, were suddenly deemed too small-minded to question him. And it didn't stop there. He didn't even pretend to consider the concerns of pastors in neighboring churches. Whether he couldn't grasp their perspective or simply didn't care, it was clear. Then, in a moment that left outsiders stunned, his own congregation erupted in cheers.
I divorced because of my infidelity, not because of irreconcilable differences, but because I broke that covenant.
Insane, right? For those who didn't catch it the first time, as Jamal Bryant threw shade at critics and brushed off scripture-based concerns, the congregation erupted in applause like they were at a concert, not a church. It wasn't just awkward, it was shocking. This wasn't a pastor being held accountable. This was a celebrity being defended. Applause replaced accountability, and loyalty completely drowned out reason. For years, Jamal Bryant has carried himself less like a shepherd and more like a brand. Flashy sermons, viral sound bites, provocative statements designed to ignite attention. Somewhere along the way, preaching became performing and controversy turned into currency. Many critics believe the couple knew exactly what that dress would do. The illusion of nudity wasn't accidental, it was bait. Attention has always been Jamal's currency, and Dr. Carey's gown just multiplied the return. That's why, for many, the backlash didn't feel sudden, it felt inevitable. Jamal has long lived under the reputation of preaching one thing while living another. His personal life has repeatedly clashed with the moral high ground he occupies on stage. Take his first marriage, for example. He admitted it ended not over vague, irreconcilable differences, but because of repeated cheating. And he didn't confess quietly, he owned it publicly, with a confidence some read as pride.
My ego is not that big. I don't dress for people. I dress for myself and for my husband.
For the years, allegations surrounding Jamal Bryant have piled up like a storm cloud ready to burst. Children with multiple women, relationships with congregants, blurred lines of power and influence, actions many faithful followers see not as redemption arcs, but as recurring patterns of shameless behavior that somehow never stop him from claiming authority, and that's when frustration boils over. Critics note that Jamal's sermons almost always circle back to one theme: giving, sowing seeds, making sacrifices tied directly to financial gain. To those watching closely, it starts to feel less like spiritual guidance and more like spiritual extraction. In the era of billionaire megachurch pastors, people increasingly wonder whether some leaders are shepherding a flock or running a full-blown con. Trust becomes currency. Faith becomes leverage. The controversy over Dr. Carrie Bryant's dress didn't spark these questions, it simply reopened them. Eventually, Dr. Carrie Bryant addressed the backlash herself, but her response did little to quell it. She made one thing perfectly clear: she dresses for herself and her husband, not the public.
I don't use my platform to preach against other preachers when there's so much that's going on in the world.
And it didn't end there. Jamal Bryant went on to urge everyone to shift their attention to the bigger issues facing the world, as if the controversy over his wife's dress were nothing more than a distraction from true priorities.
My ego is not that big. I don't dress for people. I dress for myself and for my husband.
Those are real issues, and no one disputes that. But for critics, the point wasn't lost in translation. It was about spiritual credibility, about the perception of leadership and example setting within the church. Shifting the focus to social issues didn't answer the burning questions on everyone's minds. And those questions still hang heavy unanswered. Clearly, this was never just about the dress. It was the spark that ignited the fire. People weren't reacting to fabric, they were reacting to the attitude behind it. The arrogance, the dismissiveness, the unshakable sense that accountability simply doesn't reach this household. For many, it confirmed what they had long suspected about Pastor Jamal Bryant. He operates more as a celebrity than a shepherd, more like a brand than a spiritual guide. The big question remains: will this shake his influence at all? Or will it prove, yet again, that as long as the applause is loud and the donations keep flowing, he can weather any scandal? The headlines will move on, the dress will fade from memory, but the deeper pattern of arrogance, spiritual hypocrisy, and self-serving leadership endures. And for a growing number of believers and skeptics alike, that is a reality they cannot ignore.